So we
Yes.
recorded this whole podcast without a microphone. And
Well,
then,
no, correction. I
Yeah.
had my microphone.
yeah,
I just didn't have it on correctly.
yeah, that's fine. That's why you're not a sound guy, Sammy.
Yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
actually did a lot of sound in film school in college, but that's
Yeah.
not what I do anymore. So for good reason.
So this is take 2 of our podcast, and we are going to talk about film.
Yeah.
Sammy happens to be working in film. So what do you do in film, Samuel?
Yes. I am a production designer and art director. So I work in the art department world. For those who don't know, art department is everything that has to do with everything that's in the shot, in the camera shot, that's not a living or breathing thing. So like scenery, props, decoration.
Your child actor is not going to be a part of props.
Exactly. or animals or anything like that. But yeah, so we deal with everything that you have to build or set up for a movie or film set that's going to be on camera, basically.
Okay. And shall we tell our audience how we met?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's shall.
Please, yeah, go ahead.
No, we met for your film, your second short film that you made, Nana.
Yes.
We connected through our mutual friend Rob, who connected us. He was producing it, and I had just done production design for his short film, so he recommended me to you, I guess.
Yeah, and me and Rob met on Twitter, on X, formerly known as Twitter. So me and Sammy actually met on Zoom.
That's true.
That was our first meeting. So now we're going back to where we started, and we are on Zoom.
Roots. Zoom.
We are on Zoom again.
Yeah.
So I think I just wanted to mention that for Nana, I think I told Rob when I first talked to him and met him, and we decided to get started on this project, that I told Rob that production design is going to be one of the main parts of this movie, because like everything needs to look right. And that's where you come in. So what is your process of production designing? So you have a director with the script, with their PDF that they just finished and final draft just exported, and they sent it to you. They send it to you and they say, I need you to make it real, to make space look like certain something. What is your process? How do you work with those people?
Yeah. So the first thing I look at as a production designer is all the elements of production design, like how many locations, what's involved in the story. Is it, modern day, or is it a period piece? Is it something from a different era? Is it something really weird? I take that into consideration because I'm experienced, but I'm still, not that experienced. So I want to take stuff I know I could handle. So yeah, I look at all those details, like what's the logistics behind it and all that, and start, getting ideas for the story, and see if I want to do the project after reading the script. And then if I do want to do it, then I'll have a talk with the director and ask for color schemes if they don't already have that. Like what colors are important to the story or to this project in particular. And usually the directors have like a lookbook or like reference, Pinterest, anything like that. Like they might send me. That's what you did. You had already some stuff set up.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And you sent me a movie or something.
I've sent you a movie, and I think the first time we met, I gave you my criterion, login and password. And
Yeah, you didn't.
I don't give out that information lightly.
You didn't even know me. You were
I
trusting me with
didn't
this.
even know you, and I was trusting you with my Criterion information. The subscription that I'm paying
Yeah.
$9.99 every month. Do you understand
I,
how much I trusted you from the
I
very
watched
beginning?
Criterion for a year straight. I watched so much stuff.
Liar.
I canceled all my other subscriptions and just watched Criterion that year.
Marvel is not on Criterion.
Fuck, you're right. Yeah, that's why it didn't last.
So, what were we talking about? Okay, so I sent you the Criterion film called Italian American. It was one of the big references for my movie Nana. For those of you who don't know, it's Martin Scorsese's first documentary film about his parents. He just kind of follows his parents, and a lot of aesthetics I borrowed from that film for Nana.
Yeah.
I think we did a really good job. And what I remember was really cool. You asked me to assign a color to each character, which I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was great. And I saw you, I like witnessed you working with the scripts. Like I saw the scripts that you like marked down. So like what do you look in those scripts? Because you would mark every prop, like everything that has to do with the production design. That information might be useful for screenwriters that are listening to us, because it all starts with the script. True. So what do you look for in a script?
Yeah, when I'm reading it, it all depends what my role is on the project. It might change what I'm looking at. But if I'm the actual production designer, then I have to look at everything. But I have like different color highlighters, and I never remember which ones I use for each thing, but I'll make my own legend at the beginning of the script. But I'll use a color that marks the location. I'll use a different color for props. I'll use a different color for set dressing. And the details are important because set dressing is everything you see in the scenery, but the characters don't really interact with.
What is the difference between set dressing and props?
Yeah. Well, set dressing is everything that's in the shot, but it's kind of like background, like just in the scene. And props are everything that the character like interacts with. Like if they're gonna be on their phone in the scene, then the phone is a prop. But if if there's a phone in the scene, but it's just on a table, then that's would be considered set dressing technically if no one's gonna use it. So that's the subtle small difference.
I remember, so me and Sammy, we worked on 2 projects together by now.
Yes.
And I do remember on my latest short film, Thank You, you actually asked for each character, each actress, every actress that we had on set to send you their phone cases, because like phone cases are really important to the story. We didn't want the color to be like really off to the story. And luckily, all our actresses had phone cases that would otherwise match their characters. But if it was something like neon colors, like I don't think you would have allowed that.
Yeah, true. Yeah. If it didn't match what the character would own or buy, then I would have bought a new phone case for them.
Yeah.
But I think there was just 2 of the actresses that I switched their phones,
I think, yeah.
And then between takes, they would get their phones back. But, once the cameras were rolling, they would trade it back and stuff.
Interesting. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, really?
Yep.
So thoughtful.
BTS. So BTS that not even you knew.
So BTS, not even me knew.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. Let's like go back to your origin story, your OG Samuel. So why are you doing that? And like, how did you get into that?
So, it's kind of a long story, but I
Make it
essentially
short and sweet.
I I will. I'll just give you the cliff notes. Like I did go to film school, but I didn't jump into film right after college. I first focused on music for a long time because I grew up a musician,
Mhm.
so I really wanted to pursue that.
And what do you
And
play?
I played the drums,
Hot.
the coolest instrument. Yeah. um but so I pursued that for a long time, but it didn't really go anywhere. And film was always like my second passion. I always loved filmmaking. Like I did it a lot as a kid, like with my friends and stuff. We would make little movies.
I saw those. Those are hilarious. Like the
Yeah.
world needs to see those movies.
I
Like
mean, they're on
seriously.
Facebook. You could just go to my Facebook or YouTube channel and like
Yeah, but you need to dig. You need to
Yeah, you need
like
to
dig
dig.
the Facebook for them.
Yeah. Uh,
Someday.
Someday. But you could look at the link below on I'm just kidding. I'll tag all my
We
stuff.
gotta put it in the description. Yeah, like all the Samuel Figueroa's short films, the collection.
Yeah. Oh my god, such funny stuff. But I eventually like music didn't really take off for me. So it was around 2018-ish where I started like, okay, I think I want to get back into film, but I didn't know what I wanted to do yet because a lot of the things I did in college I didn't love. So I thought I hated film, but it's just really I like didn't do the right things yet. Um, so I started, PAing around and kind of like exploring and stuff and see what I could land. And then it wasn't until 2020, out of all years, during the pandemic, where my career kind of launched off.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was your
And
first project?
So this was my first time working with the art department, which I didn't even know too much about. Like I hadn't even heard that concept yet. Art department. I didn't know what that was. Um, so I got hired super last minute to work on set for a movie called Fall, as an art PA, and uh, basically,
What is that movie about? What's the brief log line for those of us who haven't seen it, and I doubt I will see it anytime
yeah,
soon.
it's a thriller movie, pretty scary. It's about two rock climbing girls who go climb an abandoned tower in the middle of the desert as like a challenge, for their like YouTube channel, but also one of them who had a bad experience climbing earlier in her life. She's kind of like trying to get back into it, like face her fears again. And then something happens, they get stuck up there and they have to learn how to survive on that tower.
Wow. And I
Mm-hmm.
heard that set was brutal too.
So that was the thing about this project. Like logistically, this film did not want to get made. Like everything that could go
Aren't they
wrong.
all?
Yeah.
Aren't they all?
Yeah. Everything that could go wrong literally went wrong because like it was out in the desert, like the location was really hard to get to, like you had to drive on a dirt road for like 20 minutes and like people's tires were popping, people were getting sick. There was like a bee infestation, termites, all sorts of stuff. Like it was so rough. Like it was like the worst conditions to work in. But at the end of the day, even though the project was so like labor heavy, I really enjoyed the work, like, because I helped like build this fake tower, like deal with the ladders, paint, deal with props. Yeah, like I did like the cool thing about being an art assistant is you do a little bit of everything. So I got like, a little experience with props, with scenic, with building and all this stuff. So after the project was done, I realized like, oh, I actually really love like working it. And it was cool because my two bosses too were also really cool, and they're just like, sharing me a bunch of like small tips and things to like, they basically taught me along the way as we went, and they were really awesome for it, and I'm like super grateful for them.
Yeah.
And that's where it all started.
That's amazing. So that was your actual film school, not the film
Yeah.
school.
Pretty much. Yeah. The one I paid for, I didn't learn much, but the one I was getting paid to do taught me a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And since you work, yeah.
No, I was gonna ask you. I think you talked about in your last podcast what you do. You're a writer, director,
Yeah.
and producer.
Yeah.
But why did you get into film?
Well, I always liked creativity in general. And like you, I wasn't as cool as you. I play the guitar, not the drums, and you like sign like.
No, I was always jealous of guitar and bass players because they could like go forward and like interact with the crowd, and I'm stuck behind.
That's true. We're rock stars. Honestly, it was the life.
Yeah.
In high school, like 10th grade. Oh my God.
Yep. Peak of my music career.
The best memories. Yeah. It never got better. But yeah, I wanted to be a musician, but at some point I realized that I actually like the written words and the lyrics more than I like music. And I'm not as talented in being a musician. Yeah. Because like I felt like all my songs that I wrote, like the lyrics were different, but all the chords were the same. The music was the same. So I was like, well, it was like a humbling moment. I realized at the end of 11th grade, the end of the high school, I just kind of, it hit me like I'm not as talented in music.
Yeah.
I'm like much more talented in like with writing, with like lyrics and the written words. So I think I started after high school. A few years into college, I started watching movies and appreciating movies. And I watched a lot of like art house movies, not necessarily, American Hollywood blockbusters.
Yeah.
But really kind of weird ones from
the good stuff.
Yeah, like the Criterion type of,
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw all of those movies.
Yeah, like you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Like the French New Wave, and yeah. I sound so like bougie right now. French.
I think I know one French movie.
What is it?
I think it's called Blue.
Blue? Yeah. There's a movie. There's a series of movies directed by Krzysztof Kieślowski. Yeah. Red, blue, and white. Yeah. Like the colors of French flag, but they're French movies. He filmed in France.
Yeah, I saw Blue.
Great movies. You need to see White too. Oh my God. And red is kind of cool, but I think blue is the more melancholic. Anyway, it's not a conversation about crazy. So I really enjoyed movies, and I actually listened to a podcast interview with a girl who at the time went to film school.
What podcast was it?
It was a Russian podcast. Oh. Yes. Well, that was like back in the day. Okay. Right now, I wouldn't listen to that, but yeah. But it was quite interesting, just kind of the perspective of a person who lives in LA. And like I knew about LA, but I didn't even know like that's a possibility, that this is something actual people actually do. Mm-hmm. So I was curious about screenwriting and storytelling. So I really I listened to that episode over and over again because like it was really, really interesting to me. Mm-hmm. And it was like a thought in my head, oh, maybe I can be a screenwriter at some point, but it was so far away. It was so unreal, like that path. So fun
fact, like I actually, the first time I visited LA, I hated it. I never thought I would live here.
Same. Yeah. I hated it. The first minute I arrived to LA, I thought, oh my God, what kind of like trash town that is. Yeah. Like, and look at us now.
Look at us now.
Yeah. So anyway, I eventually moved to LA to now pursue film. I just happened to move here, and I took that dream out of the drawer, out of the mental drawer, and I was really insecure about writing in English because it's obviously, not my first language. I'm actually really insecure right now recording that too, because sometimes my mind just goes blank when I speak English words and when I write English words, but writing is easier because like no one can hear you writing.
Yeah. You could pause and it doesn't feel weird.
Yeah. So I started writing again in English, which was new to me, but I figured if I can write 100 emails a day, what makes me think that I cannot write a script? So I started writing, and I just went from there. And I wanted to initially I wanted to be a screenwriter, just kind of like writing and nothing else. But I just love the visual component so much that I just couldn't help but become interested in directing. And I was inspired by Greta Gerwig, a lot of other directors, but specifically Greta Gerwig, because like I think I could like relate to her so much because like
I heard she's up and coming.
She's up and coming. Yeah. Like she directed this like indie darling, like really low budget called Barbie. I don't know if you heard.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, Barbie's like really new, it's like a lifestyle.
I heard it's very edgy. Like
it's so edgy. Yeah. They're like cute actors there, but no one knows about them. Anyway. Just kidding. We love Barbie. Well, you didn't really like Barbie, didn't you? Did you?
I have my opinions, but that's for another podcast. I don't want to get hate mail.
Yeah. Well, I think you and me watching Barbie was really special to me. I don't know about you, but to me it was.
I had fun at the theaters. It was also a special day because it was the same day as your first premiere of Nana, right?
Yeah.
So that was a huge day.
That was a huge day. Yeah. And I loved it. And I dressed up as Barbie, kind of Barbie director. A little bit. Barbie colors. Yeah. I had a pink skirt. But I was inspired by Greta because I think she was just so fun. She was like not those other directors who kind of just sit in those chairs and talk like really deep stuff. Like she's actually like really funny. If you listen to her interviews, I really like how like down to earth she is. And I was inspired by that. Like, okay, like this is someone I kind of want to be. So it didn't seem like it's so far away anymore. It seemed very accessible and very realistic. So, yeah.
Yep. That's awesome.
Uh-huh.
Are there, well, I kind of know the answer to this. There's like more Ukrainian filmmakers out here too, right? Like what was the scene or what over there like for filming?
Oh my God, so many right now. I feel like right now there's like a renaissance of Ukrainian film. So I left Ukraine in 2015. There wasn't a lot going on. I think it was just starting out because Ukrainian like TV and film was so dominated by Russian content. Just like Russian shows, like everything was coming from there. And then after 2014, like Ukraine started, regaining their own identity. And the films that came out after that time were like so good. One of my favorites, like the most recent, it's like a pre-war film. I think it was like a 2021 film. 2022. I saw it here. So very randomly, I just like kind of saw it on the internet, like, oh, okay, let me go check it out. So I saw it here in LA, a Ukrainian film called Stop Zemlya. It's like a name of a game. It's a coming of age story about like this girl, in high school, your typical story, but very specific to Ukraine. So I really enjoyed that. So you might want to check it out sometime.
I do.
I wanted to ask you this. So essentially you work in Hollywood.
Sure.
Technically
it's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird saying Hollywood because when you live here, you don't geographically, you barely work in Hollywood. It's like,
oh my God, I'm rolling my eyes. Yeah. I'm rolling my eyes right now because
you sound get into like deep LA culture right now.
Please don't make it geographical. We're talking Hollywood as the space, the creative space for filmmakers. I
actually live in Burbank, not Hollywood.
Okay. Don't reveal your personal information online.
Yeah.
So you work in film. Geographically could be like anywhere, anywhere you wish, all over the states and the world. But working in film is not like your typical 9 to 5. You don't have that security of a paycheck coming every month, every 2 weeks, right?
Hmm.
You really need to hustle and be a part of that culture. And I know that you're really good at it because you are the first person I've ever met in my life who actually like. So I met you, and you said that you're a production designer under our director. And I was surprised that that's the only thing you did. And that's like your thing. You didn't have any like other jobs.
Yeah.
You didn't work like at a coffee shop, the classic.
Uh-huh.
And also did that. So like how do you go about that whole process, that whole lifestyle? Because it's very interesting to me because I'm not like that yet.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I just feel very intimidated by the lifestyle of a freelancer, but you're not. What's up with
Yeah.
that?
Well, you kind of have to be out of your mind a little bit. No, it's definitely like not an overnight thing. It was definitely a long process to get to where I am. Um, if starting back from 2018, where I was dipping my toes in PAing every now and then. But I also like, thankfully for me, even when I started PAing, I was in my late 20s already. So I kind of had work experience and the basic work ethic to like do the job well, and people really like me. And I kind of stayed stuck in the PA world for a bit because I did really well, and people could rely on me,
For
and that was
those for
cool.
those of us who don't know, what is PA?
Oh yes, production assistant.
Your bougie Hollywood people with their abbreviations.
Sorry, this podcast is called Film People, right?
Well,
So
what
they
if
need a.
someone who aspires to be a film person
We'll
watches
put
that?
all the lingos in the description.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. No, yeah, production assistant. Yeah, basically helps with the overall like different needs, like setting up tables, crafty snacks. Maybe sometimes they might pick up lunch or
Okay.
whatever, this and that, stuff like that to help the crew. And sometimes they can help the crew themselves. Like maybe they might help cameras a little bit or help the art department a little bit here and there. So yeah, PAs are great. They're very essential for any production. But yeah,
So
that's kind of where it
you
started for me.
you transitioned into an art department from being a PA.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, yeah, like I said, when I worked on the movie, I didn't know anything about that world, and it just kind of coincidentally, they hired me as an art assistant, and I just loved it so much
Okay.
that after that, I wanted to focus on that. So one of the first things I started doing was like researching everything about production design and art direction, and like I even like a lot of people don't even know that there's a difference between production design and art director.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I still don't know. What's the difference?
So production designer basically is the person who comes up with the ideas and like the design. They might do like blueprint, like sketch out like what the floor plan should be, like the look, the colors. They help in that process and kind of like choose what everything should look like. And then the art director comes in and help executes that. So art director usually will hire the rest of the art department crew. They might help with renting props, set furniture, or buying if they have to buy stuff, and like figuring out all the logistics basically. So it's kind of like a producer and director. The producer plans a film, the director creates the vision for it in a
Yeah,
way.
but you can do both. So do you have that inner conflict going
Yeah.
on?
Well, I mean, for sure, on smaller projects, you're forced to do both,
Yep.
which is fine too when it's a smaller project because you're not overwhelmed with a million things. I um the stuff that I've done production design for, I'm basically doing both. Um, they're usually short films or commercials, which are more contained, like not as many locations, not as many stuff to get, so it's more manageable. But the bigger the project is, like a whole movie or a series, a TV show, like you need both because
Of
like
course.
there's just a lot to manage. Um, but yeah, going back to your question, yeah, I started researching um, everything that involves in the art department and stuff, and started learning all the different roles because there's so many roles within this
So many.
department. And
How many? What are the rules?
uh, I don't even know how many. We're like there's
100,000 million.
yeah, like yeah, there's the set dressers who kind of place all this. Well, I'm not going to go into detail for everything, but there's props, there's set dressers, there's set decorators, which is different. Sometimes there's shoppers, there's people who just do the shopping, carpenters, painters, scenic, all the different things.
What are the plants people called? Plants.
Greens or
Gr-
greenery.
greenery. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
So
just deal with plants.
just the plants.
Yep.
They just plant the seeds.
Exactly. Like let's say
So
for a TV show, like a longer set, if there's real plants involved, there's someone who has to like manage just that, and they know when to feed the plants. They know all about how much lighting and like all those little details. Someone who just focuses on that.
like that's crazy because as a director producer, you don't really, well, I don't know, maybe the producers do, but the directors, I would never even thought that it's a thing.
Yeah.
That's why you need an experienced production designer on set to like delegate, all those little tasks to and communicate your concept so that that person can make it happen. But going back to what you said, you were doing your research and you mentioned that you went to film school, but you started doing all that research and education on your own when you committed to being a part of our department, being a art director, production designer, whatever comes with that. So where did you go for that information? Where did you look?
It's gonna sound very simple, but it's just YouTube. There's no like secret.
YouTube is great. YouTube is great. It's the
There's
best.
some really good stuff, and for both informational and inspirational stuff on YouTube. But yeah, there's all sorts of videos that explain how, there's a whole video actually. One of my favorites is this whole video just about props and how important they are to story. A whole story could revolve about one prop, hence Lord of the Rings. It's all about a ring. The whole trilogy is about a ring. Like that's how important this one little prop is.
And speaking of prop, speaking of one prop that you have, that is your signature.
Oh,
your signature coffee mug.
I'm actually drinking it right now.
Oh,
I'm just drinking water.
So tell us the story of that mug, because that mug was a Nana. For those of you who, if you will be watching Nana on YouTube, which will be something that will be available shortly, you will notice that mug in the living room, but also you have put it in how many projects now?
I think like maybe like 4 or 5.
Okay.
It's so just that, like
yeah,
like some commercials, like in the background, it's just decoration or something just there. If there's a kitchen involved or a living room, I could put in a mug. I always have this mug with me. My goal is to have it in every project I do.
You even have it in this one. That's crazy. Like you found a way to,
Which one?
This one that we're doing right now.
Oh yeah,
the podcast.
This is my prop.
But I think, I think we kind of started talking about like other things. But my original question to you was, how do you navigate the freelance lifestyle?
Yeah.
How do you balance that craziness that comes your way?
Yeah, well, the other thing too is, part of my story is I got lucky, the timing of it, getting into film, like around COVID, I started getting more work. I think, two things. not two things, one thing. I think it was a good time to get into industry because even though there wasn't a lot happening, so many people left LA who worked in the
Ah,
entertainment industry. So I think even though there was less opportunity, there was also less competition in a way. So that kind of got my foot in the door. And then that led to coming out of COVID. Uh, Everything got greenlit, and Hollywood kind of wanted to catch up on all their projects. So things got really busy for everyone. And I was able to like jump on stuff and got some connections. And like, each project led to another project. And I work a lot with the same people because, once you find your circle of people, you kind of like help each other get work and stuff. So that's what they mean by, it's all about who you know. It's just making those relationships. And I think, in my personal experience, the best place to network is at work. um,
shocker.
yeah. So I think because it's like certain events, I mean, it's great to have networking events, but I think for me, I'm not good at like talking myself up. I even have trouble like in interviews. Like I get shy or something, or I feel like I'm bragging. So I'm really bad at like talking myself up. But when people see me work, that's when like they start noticing, and like just yeah, that has put me in many opportunities. Yeah, no, going to your question, yeah, that was kind of like the practical side of like how I got my foot in the door. Like I was just kind of like the right place at the right time. But
Yeah.
then like it is very scary to go into the freelance lifestyle. It's very uncertain. Um, but I think for me, what has helped is just learning to be at peace with it. Um, and this is just the life I chose, and I really love what I do, and I'm gonna make it work no matter what. That's kind of like what my mindset is like, um, which I kind of learned from you too. When you every time you say
Oh,
like you when you approach things, you ask people like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this. Can you help?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna do it anyway, with or without you." So we're gonna keep going.
it's gonna
Um,
happen with or without you. That's my
exactly.
motto for life.
Yep. Um, but it came to a point to where in 2021, I did get a part-time job. Um, that I was going to do that and keep pursuing film. Um, but I knew that I was going to just have that part-time job until film became more sustainable.
Yeah.
And or if it got like if I knew like my biggest sign was like if this gets in the way of any film gigs, I'm going to let it go. And
Drop it.
yeah. And that's exactly what happened. I remember getting like texted to help be a PA on a movie that actually ended up on Netflix, which was that could have been a great opportunity. Um, and I was able to help for a day, like 2 days at least, but I had work, so I could only like work until 2 p.m. with them, and then I had to like go to my other job,
Yeah.
and I didn't like that other job, um, but that's when I knew it's like, all right, I'm just gonna quit this. Um, And I will say I was lucky too. What I did strategically too is I had a new car. I bought a new car. So I signed up to Lyft. That was like my backup plan. Um, but I did that kind of like prepared myself for success. And I quit that other job, not knowing what was going to be next. And literally, like the rest of that year from like August till December, I booked so many things that I don't even remember like the order. Like it was just kind of like nonstop work for me. And it just kind of like I would personally I kind of believe in this thing of like opportunities waiting for you, like, but we always want to like hold on to security
Yeah.
until like the opportunity comes, then we let go and then move on.
Yeah.
But in my life, I feel like I noticed like you have to let go first, and then the right thing opens up.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. I want to adopt that attitude of like being
Mm-hmm.
able to let go of the security of something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's not practical advice. It's terrifying, and I don't have it all figured out, but it's worked out so far. So
What I really appreciated that you said that you were in the right place at the right time. And I think a lot of people kind of skip that part. Especially if they have achieved some sort of success, right? In this industry, especially, it's very easy to kind of um, say, oh, like it all happened because of my hard work. But yes, that is true. But
Yeah.
also luck plays a big role.
Yep.
And I think that that's what, a lot of things in my life happen because of luck, because I was like at the right place at the right time, connected
Yeah.
to the right person at the right time. Even meeting Rob Harmon, our mutual friend who helped me produce Nana and
Yeah.
basically who like kickstarted this project, right? That's going to so many festivals. Like he saw my tweet. Like how
Yeah.
crazy is that? He saw my
Yeah.
tweet. He slid into my DM
Yeah.
saying, hey, send me the script. And I sent it to him. He liked it. We started talking about the script and, the rest is history. So, and I think for you, just to be able to acknowledge that, okay, like I was at the right place at the right time with my first movie that I ended up being an RPA. That's big. That's big. And it's a lot of, I think in Hollywood, not the geographical Hollywood, like the actual Hollywood.
On Vine Street in Hollywood.
Yeah, no, not talking about that.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows anything, and there's no like the right path or the right way to become someone. And that's what I really like about this industry because it's like, there's no like a rule book or something like that. You can go to film school and become a PA, or you can, go to art department. And I think so many stories, especially about art department. I feel like I know so many stories from you. It's like how people end up in insurance, because I hear about that all the time. Like no one ever wants to do insurance and people don't even know it's a thing. And people kind of just fall into it and stay in it. And I feel like it's the same with our department.
Oh yeah.
So it's like no one really knows what that entails, but people try it, stay in it, and go from there. So
that was like literally something that the prop master told me on the movie Fall. Like one of the things he says, like one secret about this business is like no one really know. Everyone's figuring it out. Like even the CEO at Disney is still like figuring out to like the new PA at an entry level job. And literally, I remember on that movie, at one point we had a fake bird. What are they called? Vultures, like a fake vulture that was gonna be in a scene, and we needed to turn it into a puppet to kind of like move it around. And he was YouTubing it. He was like YouTubing how to make a puppet, like. And he's worked on The Walking Dead. He's worked on Marvel stuff. Like he had like big credits.
Okay.
Like at that time, he was showing me pictures of some Marvel stuff that hadn't been released. Like I was nerding out because I'm like a huge Marvel fan. But like, so he's obviously like a professional, but even he is like YouTubing stuff because it's a creative business. You just have to figure it out as you go.
No shame in that. No shame in that. So you have worked on commercials, music videos, feature films, short films, TV series. You've done it all. What did you like, or what do you like the best? Like what type of you don't have to name drop right now, but what type of project do you like to work on?
That's a hard question.
Yeah, only hard questions from me tonight.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, I don't know. I mostly think about, it's more about who I work with that makes the project enjoyable or not. When it's great people, it could be the shittiest project, but if it's with great people, it's a fun time.
Oh my God, I just remembered what you told me before we filmed Nana.
What?
Great art, great pay, great people.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
That's the big three.
The big three.
Yes, let me get to that. Let me finish the question and I'll get to
Yes,
that really
please.
quick. But
Mm-hmm.
I think overall, I really like music videos because they're creative, and like usually music videos are very creative and like different or unique, but they're also like short term. So it's not like overwhelming. Like it's
Yeah.
usually like one or two locations at most. So that feels like, oh, it's like fun, but also not like too exhausting um, as like a movie or something. So yeah, I like music videos personally.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, the big threes when you're freelancing, very important. And I learned this early on too. Um, I think so. Three things to consider. What do we say? Good people,
Good people, good art, good
good
pay.
art, or good pay.
You told me when I first met you, and we were, driving around LA looking for old furniture. You
Yeah,
told me that the project has to have at least two out of
yeah,
three. And I said, okay, obviously I don't have great pay.
yeah,
Must be great art and great people.
yeah.
And you said yes.
hmm Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, at that time too, like the pay wasn't bad for what it was, because I consider that too if it's like a simple project, even though my title is production designer. But if the project is pretty simple and straightforward, it's like, okay, yeah, that's fine.
But was it simple, Sammy?
No, nothing is actually simple. um but yeah, you have to have at least two of those, or at least I try to take into consideration two of those elements before saying yes to a project. um so yeah, if it's just one, I mean, sometimes you might get all three. That's like an
It's the
amazing thing.
jackpot.
It happens every, when the planets align and and the stars are, in retrograde, and I'm gonna pretend I know about astrology, but I don't know anything about astrology. Um,
Oh, but do you? I feel like you
yeah,
do.
you
You're
probably
being
do.
you're being such a Virgo right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, of course I am.
I feel like that has to do with your like obsession with details and the fact that you chose this career for yourself because you're like a bit of a perfectionist, and
mhm.
even the way you design your home, it's like when I first like came over your house when we were just friends.
Yeah.
I noticed how good it looks, like design wise. Like it feels like everything is at the right place.
Mhm.
Um, and your sets feel the same way. I've obviously I've been on two of your sets, which were my sets too. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, the photos that I saw, it's just like very good production design. I feel like if a production design is good, you don't notice it. If it's bad,
Mm.
you notice it.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So can you elaborate a little bit on what good and a bad production design is,
Yeah.
and how can we tell?
Yeah. I think it's funny that you bring that up, because I kind of always thought like both production design and sound design are done well when you don't notice it.
Absolutely.
If you notice it, then it's not a good job. Like it shouldn't get in the way. But I think
Uh-huh.
for production design, um, yeah, it's a lot of work, but it can't get away in the story or the characters, which are the most important elements.
Yeah.
It's just the job of the production design is to simply bring you into this world, and very quickly and subtly, and like it doesn't have to call too much attention. Um, and it's just kind of bring you into this world. And I think, yeah, if you were watching a movie about, like, I don't know, let me think of an example. Like,
Yeah, think of a movie.
well, no, I
Any
want to think
movie.
like,
A superhero.
well, no, I'm just thinking about a character, like any character. Like, let's say you're following a character who's in his 30s,
Okay.
and he works whatever office job, blah blah blah, like a pretty normal life, um, and maybe he has money and he's successful, but you're filming in a college dorm, because that's the only location you could get.
with like
And
all the screenwriting books laying around the house, and the movie
yeah,
posters and Pulp Fiction poster just randomly
exactly. Yeah, there's Pulp Fiction. There's a
on the
bunk
wall.
bed. There's like textbooks in the background. Like that's
Yeah.
bad production design. Like clearly, this is not his actual home. Um, if that's the only space you can get, then you have to make it look like someone in his 30s, lives there who's successful or something. And you'd be surprised. You could turn any space into almost anything. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you'll quickly be thrown off. Like if you notice, like, what, that doesn't look like that's where this guy lives or would hang out or something.
I feel
So
like if you're paying attention to that, like a mug on on a coffee table, then that automatically means that the movie is not that great.
yeah,
Sorry.
or specifically the production design is not that great.
Yeah.
Like,
Production
what does
size.
everyone remember about Game of Thrones? The Starbucks coffee
This
mug.
that wasn't even Starbucks. That was a regular coffee mug.
It was just a coffee mug.
Don't make Starbucks a part of that.
Such a beautifully shot TV show, but everyone just talked about that mug.
Yeah.
But it happens, and that's fine.
It's okay. It happened. They were tired.
Yeah.
And they needed some coffee.
But yeah.
I feel like every project has its own challenges, and definitely Nana, it was very challenging. Although to you, I know that it seemed very simple.
Yeah, I remember like when I first read the script, it seemed pretty straightforward.
Uh-huh.
And we talked about it filming at your apartment, which I hadn't seen yet. And I assumed like, oh yeah, like, well, I wanted to look like an old lady's apartment, not a young woman in her 20s. But um, I assumed you had furniture and like stuff, and like we just had to kind of like fluff it up.
Little did he know, I didn't have anything.
Little did I know. One of the first things I noticed was like how big your apartment was, which was good
Yeah.
and bad. One, because it was supposed to be a house. So that was a trick too. I didn't want it to feel like an apartment. I wanted it to feel like an actual house.
Yeah.
So, which like it being spacious was a good thing. But then that just meant like I have so much space to fill, like, and we have like
Yeah.
very little budget, like to like, make it look like a sweet old lady lives here.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge. Like, but I think with that, the smart thing to do is like we started this working on it like 2 months before or something.
I think we started working on it in January and we shot in late March. So
Yeah.
almost 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, having that time to like slowly buy or find cheap furniture, we even like drove around and like
We drove
found
around
stuff.
so much.
We found
Oh my
stuff on the
God.
street, literally.
We did. We
Like
did.
that's indie filmmaking right there. Just
We
find
love
junk.
that. We love that. And we were on Craigslist way too much.
Oh yeah, all the time. And Facebook Marketplace.
Facebook Marketplace is
Yeah.
the best. And I remember we picked up like a huge cabinet, and we delivered it on the top of your car. Like, how do you?
Yes.
You like attached it I don't even know how you managed to do that, but you did. And like luckily it was close by, and we invited my best friend, to like load it in.
Yep.
It was a whole thing, but I felt like okay, this is the filmmaking. And which brings me to my next point. Like, filmmaking is labor.
Yeah.
I know our department is labor. Everything about film is labor. I don't know who said that filmmaking is glamorous, because
No.
it's not. It's hard work.
No.
It's like working at a factory.
Yeah.
So
Yep. And I've worked at both, so yeah, it is hard work.
yeah.
Yeah, I could, it's a lot of hard work. It depends the location. Like,
What is the craziest location you filmed at?
The fall was one of them for sure.
Desert.
Okay. And then this other music video I worked on in downtown LA. it, it was the design of the video was, it was supposed to look like an abandoned club from the 1920s. So
Okay.
like that old timey whatever. So we literally filmed in an abandoned building that was, out of commission, and it had so many safety hazards. Like the stairs didn't have rails,
Of
whatever. The
course.
hallways were super small, like a bunch of like pipes sticking out and stuff, like
Yeah.
all this like dangerous stuff.
Just for
Um,
funsies.
yeah, just for funsies. It was the right look, but it made it so difficult to work in. And at one point, so this is the biggest budget music video I've worked on. It had like, I want to say like almost 20 dancers involved, like a huge production thing.
Right. I saw that video. It's great. Looks
Yeah,
great.
it looks amazing. But one of the days they were shooting a scene on the second floor,
Hmm.
and they had all the dancers up there with all the furniture. There was a huge bed. There was like all this stuff, and plus like the grips, the stands, lighting, cameras, everything. There was like probably like 40 people up there,
Yeah.
and the floor started caving in and like bending down.
No way. Oh
And they
my
had to
God.
like halt production and like, you know, get everyone down as quickly and safely as possible. And I was outside for this too. So I was just like, I was either working or talking to someone, and then all of a sudden everyone's coming out, and I'm like, what's going on?
Oh
It's like,
my goodness. It's
yeah.
like the movie Inception. You all of a sudden you see this building kind of like
Yeah.
collapsing slowly.
Yeah.
And you just outside look at it. What is happening?
Yep.
Is that the director's intention?
Yeah. Uh so luckily no one got hurt. But even with budget, like things can get dangerous. So uh
The bigger
but
the budget, the bigger the danger.
mm,
I don't know about that.
no, not when union is involved.
Yeah, no, no.
um but no, yeah, so that was a thing. That was a crazy location. And the other thing too about working in downtown LA, we were there for like 7 days, and
Oh my God, 7?
yeah, it was a long shoot.
Wow.
Very involved. Well, that's because I was also involved with prep, so we had to set up everything like 2 days before and all this.
What music video is that? Can you say?
Um,
No? Okay. We'll skip that.
I don't know. I won't say, because it'll make it sound like they weren't being safe. But I think they were trying. It was just an
Okay.
accident. I don't want to give them a bad rep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look on my website and then just try to guess which one. I'll let you be.
Shamelessly promoting your website.
Yeah. Oh, I do have a website.
Okay.
SamuelDFigueroa.com.
What does D stand for? Danger.
Dangerous.
I knew it.
But no, yeah. But like working in downtown, like every morning we got there, it's like all these homeless people outside, and there was like human poop on the sidewalks, and just like crazy people, and just
Yeah.
it was rough.
Yeah.
But we survived.
Hollywood.
Yep. Real Hollywood, baby.
Yeah. Oh my God. Crazy world. Crazy world. But I do like your like attitude about this profession in general, because like things are never sort of stable. You can book like 4 gigs in a row, right? And like
Yeah.
work with no days off.
Mhm.
And then you all of a sudden have no gigs lined up.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that uncertainty?
Drugs, man, just do a lot of drugs. No, I'm just kidding. I actually don't. I noticed that my eyes look red, but it's because I'm tired. I haven't
That's fine.
smoked. And
That's
I'm
fine.
not smoking.
Yeah, we don't smoke anymore.
Nope.
No.
I never did.
Yeah, I never actually did. I don't know why I said anymore. We'll cut that. We'll cut this.
Sure. We'll see. No, leave it in. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, no, yeah, I definitely, I think meditation and staying proactive I treat like whenever I don't have any work a specific week, I treat that Monday like I wake up and my apartment is my office. I go online, look for gigs, reach out to people, do whatever I can. Now I'm luckily at a point too where I have some more material that I could like edit or put on my website or Facebook or whatever.
Seems like now people are reaching out to you. I think
Mm-hmm.
you're at that point in your career where it's like the other way around. Like you don't have to, like, it's almost like jobs are looking for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I believe that. Like, and I've read a lot about that too. Eventually, it's the grind at the beginning, and you have to really, really like put in the time and work. But eventually, work is gonna start coming to you, and I'm starting to experience that slowly. And yeah, it just takes focus and discipline. But yeah, in terms of like mental stuff. Oh, and going back to like going like what I said, like, at work is where I network. Um, what has led me to more work is just having a good attitude on set. Um, has been very helpful. Uh, I know it's easy to complain. That goes for anyone who works any job, but like, um, I think just having the right attitude, I've worked with people that sometimes will work harder if they're getting paid more, but then if it's a low paying gig, then they just treat it like, well, they're only paying me this, so I'm doing the minimum. But like that's just not a great way to approach things. Um, one, because you agreed, to this project, you don't have to say yes.
Yeah.
But I think no matter what you're doing, even if you're working for free, like give it 100%.
Oh my God. As an indie producer, I cannot agree with you more.
Yeah.
Preach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
And you never know. You never know where that producer, director, whoever hired you will end up at.
yeah, true. And like even if this one person couldn't like pay you as much now, maybe later on in their career they might have bigger projects and they'll remember you if you had a good attitude and stuff, and they're gonna bring you on stuff with more pay or recommend you to other stuff. And oh, and the other like detail that I've kind of been thinking about recently is like sometimes you complain to like your equals or your peers, whoever, like, your other set dressers, your other PAs, your other grips, your other this, but you don't know who of your coworkers are gonna go up
Yeah.
like the ladder later on, and then they're gonna be hiring. And at least for me, like that's something I keep in mind, like when I'm looking for people to join a project, is like who has a good attitude. Like I know you can do the job, but I'm gonna reach out to these people who are fun to work with first.
Yeah.
And then if they're not available, then I guess I'll reach out to you. So it's just a little thing that I never even thought about before until recently, because I'm now getting gigs where I have to like hire people too. So like the people who are like with me, like I'm thinking about I'm thinking about people who are with me who are like always we're in at 100%, did a great job, we're getting the same pay as me and this and that, versus like the people who are with me but they just complain the whole day, and I'm like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
you're not my first choice.
Yeah. Well, always give it your best.
Yep.
And I think so. What is the set dynamics between our department and other departments? What is the reputation that like our department has versus other departments?
Oh, you want the drama, don't you?
I do want the drama.
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, you know what's fun on the uh what's it called? What's that Instagram page?
Movie says humor.
I think so. They're doing the countdown right now to see which department.
Well, last year was the sound. Last year was sound, so maybe our department will win this year.
I screenshotted it, but right now, like props is in there, set deck, art, like so many different art department things are winning so far. So we'll see.
Okay.
we have a good reputation. No, yeah, I think this too. Like sometimes there's a little bit of division between departments.
Yeah.
And which is dumb because we're all like on the same team and we all need each other at the end of the day. If I can go into detail, I notice not every project is this way, but sometimes on a few things, there's a little bit of like butting heads between grips and art department.
Oh, why is that?
So from the art department perspective, grips tend to break our things a lot, and we get mad.
Those expensive props.
Yeah, sometimes sometimes it's stuff we have to return, or sometimes they're rentals. Things we need to really take care of and stuff. And it's not just grips. Anyone could break anything. Even art department people break stuff. So it's fine. It happens. And then my best theory on grips, if they don't like art, I'm not saying everyone is this way, is that maybe we complain too much. And they're like, because we're all like labor workers, but like, grips can be more rough because they have the C stands and combos and everything is a little more like, we don't have to be that sensitive. Yeah. And our department needs to be very careful with everything. Like I literally, like a movie I worked on last year, like one grip was moving a stand and he broke like this market light that we had set up and all this. And we were like, oh. We had to like get a new one and set it up. Anyway, but I think I had but at the end of the day, we all kind of need each other. And last week I worked on a commercial actually. And when I met, so we did a tech scout and, it was me, the camera operator, the producer director, and the key grip. And everyone was like super friendly and chill. And then when I met the key grip, she was like, oh, hey, like she was very dry. And I don't know if that's just the way she is or if she like thought like production designer. I don't know. She was just like kind of dry.
Yeah.
But your instinct is to be like defensive and like judgmental. But I literally thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to win her over by the end of this shoot. Like, and I kind of did. Like, I didn't, and the reason why I want to win her over because I might need help from the grips at some point. And I didn't need her help specifically at any point, but I did like talk to her and like I felt like I got along with this person. And I actually did ask some other grips for help with something. We were trying to set up this window, just for like in the shot, like a window frame just floating there, and like. As an art department, like I could maybe figure out like I could build some stuff with wood and like, put some jacks on there or something, but that would take me hours versus like the grips just have stands. We could just clamp it on. So for things like that, you want to maintain those good relationships because you never know when you have to ask favors or vice versa. They're going to ask you for favors too. So treat your coworkers kindly.
Always.
That's the moral of the story.
Did I treat you kindly?
No, I quit the second day.
I'm sorry.
You rehired me. And then I was like, fine, I'll do it.
We didn't have actually any drama like me and you when we were just coworkers. I don't think so. I don't think we ever had any disagreement. Maybe like really small ones.
Oh, actually, I think we did in your second short film. There was something like some miscommunication. I don't even remember exactly what it was, but like, that's funny too. Like, how do you approach that? Because what was it? I was trying to like set up like the whole scene, I guess.
You were trying to set up a scene for like a wide shot. And I said that the shot's not going to be that wide.
Yeah. And I thought I thought that this was an establishing scene, and I'm like, no, but we need to see the whole thing for an establishing shot.
You were so we were filming at a restaurant, my latest short film, thank you. We were filming at a restaurant, and you were trying to set up like the whole restaurant, and you were questioning how come we're not seeing like the whole space in the very beginning. And I said like, okay, we we see like both sides of the space throughout the movie, but we don't really see like the whole thing in one shot.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we had like a little bit of an argument about that, and
Yeah.
we got it resolved.
Mm-hmm.
We got it resolved, which was we just did it my way.
Yeah, exactly. Well, how do you take that, like, as a director, it's your vision, but then how do you balance like taking suggestions from, your other DP or whatever, costume designers and stuff like that, versus like, okay, actually no, I just want this. Like,
Well, let me tell you this. It's hard and I'm still learning how to do that. I feel like I'll be learning my whole life, like throughout my career, how to do that because as a director, you obviously like it kind of starts with you. And you have the last word because like all those creatives that you work with, like obviously they have their own ideas and suggestions, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And sometimes as a director, you just need to trust your intuition, and you need to kind of you might not have an answer other than that's what I feel like that should be.
mm-hmm.
And you really need to trust that voice that's like whispering in your ear. Versus all the other voices, your DPs like yelling at you, no,
Yeah.
don't do that. You're a production designer, but you really need to find the balance between listening to that voice and listening to your collaborators because like if you are, well, I'm a Libra, that's why like I'm trying to find balance in everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Going back to astrology.
Yeah.
But I think like if you are too into like just listening to your intuition, that's not right also, because you'll be like too self-focused and you will not accept like other people's ideas and other people's input, and they will feel like you don't really appreciate their contribution too. So I really want to, as a director, I really want to be that kind of director where, you will working with me, you will kind of feel appreciated that, okay, like my input, my opinion matters here
mm-hmm.
on set for this director. So yeah, it's a tricky balance to navigate.
Yeah.
But before we leave, I wanted to ask you one last thing. What will be your advice to someone who wants to pursue a career in art department, film specifically? Yeah.
Film art department. Um. Ooh, advice. Well, it's funny because I kind of discovered this later in life, and a lot of people I work with were very similar. Like they love film for some reason or another, and but they didn't know where they fit in.
Yeah.
So we kind of land in this weird department with all the misfits, and like it's funny because like no two art department people are the same, but we also kind of are. Like we're just like the weird group. But yeah, any advice? I would say just like any other work environment, just be kind to people, have good work ethic. Even if, like, an art department is one of those things where you're never going to stop learning because every project is different. There's no like formula to it. Like some days you might be building a spaceship, some days you're just doing a simple office space, like very simple. You know, and but I notice people. I've actually had people who were PAs and they told me they want to do our department, and I saw how they were PAing, and I'm like, okay, and I call them up for other things like, just show up on time, communication, and just like always be willing to work. And like, and there's also like, I love some of my assistants who will, sometimes most of the work is done at the beginning of the day where you set everything up and then you just kind of like let the film happen. And they always check in with me, like, anything I can do, like, it's okay, we're okay. Nothing you need to do now. But like, it's good that they're like checking in, and like they could always, if there's nothing to do, like we could organize stuff, prep, like we're done with this, so let's put that away, blah blah blah. So just be aware, I would say, of where you're working, like who needs help and how you can help, and just anticipate the needs of, your bosses or the project or whatever they need.
I love that advice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was a very enjoyable conversation, and
Yeah.
and we learned so much about art and about our department and about
Yes.
production design. So we have less than 1 minute left. So yeah, good luck with all your future
Bye.
endeavors.
Thanks
Bye.
for having me. This was fun.
Of course. Thanks for being on.
Yeah.
Bye.